Try to do something about your filthy monkey. 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 Try to do something about your
filthy monkey.
Try to do something about your
Filthy monkey. Hello, ladies. Oh, there's a bit of John Cage here. Hey, hello, everybody. How's everybody going? My name is Chris Quinlan and welcome to MelbourneMusos Facechook Live. Oh, there's still a bit of the French flavour hanging around. Oh, you're Minkis.
You think you're so clever with your whole tone and diminished scale.
Yes, I am. And that is the subject of tonight. I'm going to be a bit harmonic with everything tonight, behind the drums. And I would like to, I was going to say introduce, but I'm sure you know about it, the diminished scale and what we call symmetrical scales. Okay, symmetrical scale. So what we have is a diminished scale. We can have a half diminished scale. And you can have a whole tone scale. You see, I have this. Mysterioso, I tells you. With the diminished scale, it's an 8-note scale with a symmetrical construction of alternating whole tones and semitones, and you can also have it the other way around, semitones and whole tones. You can call it the whole half or the half whole, and there you go. The diminished scale is also commonly called the octatonic scale since it has 8 tones, you see. And then what goes on with that is that essentially you can have a whole tone, 2 steps, a half, so it's whole, half, whole, half, whole, half, whole, yeah, like that all the way through. Or you can have half, whole, half, whole, half, whole, half, whole. And what I've got here is you can have both because of the symmetry of it, you see. So if I start here on C, the note C is the trigger. But if I go one back, that's now B flat, and you can have the other way. So whenever you're wanting to write a kind of a scary soundtrack, the diminished scale is for you. Okay, so what happens here is the octatonic scale. An octatonic scale is any 8-note musical scale. However, the term most often refers to the alphabet symmetrical scale composed of alternating whole and half steps. As shown in classical theory, this symmetrical scale is commonly called the octatonic scale, in contrast to jazz theory, where we do call it the diminished. And there you have it. The earliest systematic treatment of the scale was in Edmond de Polignac, unpublished treatise, Études sur les sections alternates des tons et de tons.
Try to do something about your filthy monkey.
You think you're so clever with your whole tone and diminished scale. I'll symmetrical you in a minute.
You see, that's what goes on. if you just simply harmonize a major scale, the diminished chord will come up on the 7th step, if you don't know that already. You see, when you're harmonizing a major scale, if you're part of a choir or a harmony, you know, backing singers, all that sort of stuff, if you take, say, C major, you're going to have C major. You're going to have C major scales. So you have C major, D minor, I was right, C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, or it could be a dominant 7th, but let's stick to triads. And then A minor, and then B diminished. That's what happens. There you go. And then what happens is that as you do the symmetry, there's only really 2 diminished scales you could have. It's a C diminished or a C sharp diminished. And then if you go a half diminished, the same thing applies, you see, because they're symmetrical. They'll work themselves out. So it gives a kind of a mysterioso. There's no full tonal, you know, this is it. Although I do have my bass drum on C. Go. And that's what happens there, you see. And that's with the diminished scale. I'll put them all up here for you later on. And there you have that. So you've got a couple of different ways of doing things. In jazz theory, it's kind of wonderful because what happens is, I often think of it like this. When I'm playing guitar, and when I was doing all my orchestration work and musical theory, and I did do 5 years of piano there once. Hello, fingers, do you remember that? Nah. And what happens is that when you're sitting there playing, it's like you might be doing a solo, say, over a minor pentatonic, right? But then you can overlay the diminished scale over the top for some really funky kind of jazz stuff, you see. Because what happens is that when you're actually dealing with the diminished scale, you've got the flattened 7 and the flat 5, do you see? So what happens is the flat 5 in jazz is the blue note. There you go. And if you're going to do Enter Sandman or What Is This That Stands Before Me, Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, there's the flat 5 in there. So you see the diminished can really be quite a versatile scale if treated right. And it's got a wonderful little thing about it, because if I like, I've got the orchestral harp here, and if I just sort of now I'll just diversify a bit actually. Here's my piccolo toms. Now I envisage that like almost like a Debussy kind of deal there. But if I'm sort of playing something like... What I'm doing there is the reverse 2 feel. I like my continuity, I tells you. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... If you're selective with your notes, you can make it quite tonal, you see.
Man's got to know his limitations.
Dirty Harry, Magnaforce, 1974. Yeah. I've done that a few times. I need my continuity comedy as well. Hey! There it is. Okay, so that's what you've got. Wondrous little thing when you really get into it. So as I said, you can overlay it if you're selective with the note choices, with what you're doing. It can become quite a wondrous little thing. There's a lot of possibilities. When I did my VCA summer course back in the late 70s, there was a certain Mr. Baker who was fantastic, who came over from America to talk about it. He loved the diminished scale, how he could overlap it, you know, from your different things, and you know, like your. It's a funny thing. The melodic minor scale bobbed up in conversation over the last week or so, and there's that. You know, you get people that just use the ascending part of the melodic minor, and not the descending part, which is natural minor. But I diversify because I'm talking about diminished. But what goes on is that he would talk about those kinds of things, those kinds of terms. And then because over the last weeks, because of the Olympics, and Olivier Messiaen with the bird song, where's Graham Kennedy when you need him? That show was on Wednesday. But anyway, what happens is now, using the continuity, you're talking about people like I mentioned Olivier Messiaen, who used birdsong as part of his compositions because he's also an well-regarded ornithologist, and he treats things like the whole tone scale as one of his first main things, along with Claude Debussy, who loves the whole tone scale. And I'll go to that in a second. Now, really, what the title of tonight's show is symmetrical scales, you know, equal steps, you know, that kind of thing. And so with, finishing off with the diminished, you can have whole, half, whole, half, or half, whole, half, whole, half. And then because it encapsulates things like the flattened seventh and the flat five, it starts to be overlaid with different things. People like the Dear Joe Pass, wonderful guitarist, along with Oscar Peterson. They seem to be. I remember seeing them at Dallas Brooks Hall in 1978, and his wonderful use of the diminished scale. I've got his book over there, and there's a whole chapter to the diminished scale. There you go. There you are. Thank you. Moving right along. I'll change things up a little bit. Here's strings tremolo. What you're doing there is, I'm going to talk drums for a bit. Hello, Doris, how you going? But if I take... 3/2 polyrhythm. Split them. Ba-bum. There you go. There's the ostinato. Danger was his middle name. hope you enjoyed that little tidbit there. Okay, I'm going to change things up a little bit now. And I'm going to go over to the whole tone scale and change my little patch up. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm going to talk about my drums a little bit here. Because, as you know, I've got big-ass Doris here and all that. And I need the notes, you see. Because when I go high... I need the notes. That's anyone else's octopad. So you got one more than me. That kind of thing. And then when I go over to the triggers, these triggers here, so on, what starts to happen with that is that they're the same kind of triggers that you'd see underneath for either an electronic drum kit or any kind of keyboard when you press down the key, you see. So that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. There you go. It can be El Misterio. Or maybe I should subtitle the show El Misterioso or something like that. Anyway, what happens is that if I now change to the orchestral harp, go back. Misterioso. Now, what I do here, every time I do this patch, this is called a doctrine of sounds a little bit, thanks to Johann Sebastian Bach. No, he's gone. He got groomed today. We're talking Mali, if you don't know. Now, what goes on with this? Everything's a little blurred because if I'm sticking with the Hemiola from Espanola, that feeling of 3 against 2, it's actually 6-8 against 3-4. 3-4 is 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 6-8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. And then you add the whole tone to it, which is the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, sharp 4, sharp 5, sharp 6 octave. That sharp 6 is also can easily be referred to as a flat 7 again. Oh, continuity. You can hear the whole tone scale. I'm talking about Debussy and Olivier Messiaen. But Frank Zappa does a wonderful little whole tone scale based solo on side 4 of Joe's Garage, Act 3. Same side as Watermelon in Easter Hay, one of his classics. And every time I do this, with the aforementioned doctrine of sound, I keep thinking of the sea. And all its little concoction. When we're talking about Claude Debussy, one of his revelations was going and seeing an Indonesian gamelan orchestra at the Paris Exhibition.
You see, you're so clever with your whole tone and diminished scale. I have remembered for years.
And so therefore, les champs. And after he had to do something with his filthy Minky, he went away and found out that there was a lot of whole tone, pentatonics, and so much of his piano music has that beautiful open-ended, mysterioso sound because of the symmetry, I tells you. Oh. Now if I take the hi-hat out, which was giving me some kind of tempo, hopefully this gives you a sense of timelessness. Have it, there's the show. Oh. I try and do something different. As you can see, what I try and do, because I have the the triggers, I can put notes to them. Then I can talk about harmonies. You see. So in closing out the show, that's what I've tried to put across tonight. Still has the French flavor. Let me go over everything. Diminished scale. Whole, half, or half, whole, half, whole.
Try to do something about your filthy monkey.
One day I came home and I found him sitting in the living room. I let him stay for what he pays for his own room at home.
From Espanola. Feeling of 3 against 2 or 6-8 against 3-4.
Try to do something about your filthy monkey. 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 Try to do
My name's
something
Chris
about your
Quinlan, this is Facechook Live. We still a bit of French flavour. Talk about the diminished whole tone scale. Diminished and whole tone scale. Symmetrical. I'm off to buy some cheese.
Try to do something about your filthy monkey. 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 Try to do something about your filthy monkey.